Welcome back once again to the canning technology and value addition of safe foods. In today's session, we'll be again continuing with the standard operation procedures in seafood canning industry. And under this, we have to discuss about different standards from national and international perspective. So in the previous session, we had discussed about good manufacturing practices, and we had also seen what are the different criteria that need to be taken into consideration when we practice good manufacturing practices, GMPs. And next we have to see standard operating procedures. It is otherwise called SOPs. And similar to GMPs, SOPs, they also fall under the jurisdiction of Food and Drug Administration rule. SOPs, they are plant specific. GMPs, they are not plant specific, they are not process specific. But then SOPs, they are plant specific. So that means each industry, they have their own SOPs. We cannot adopt one industry's SOP for another industry. So each industry, they have to design, they have to develop their own SOPs. And SOPs, these are designed to assure the protocols for performing a certain job during the manufacturing or processing of food. So during the processing of food, what all steps are to be adopted, what has to be done from the beginning till the end, till the finished product is developed. So all the steps, this will be recorded in an SOP. And these need to be followed closely and properly. So it's very important that if we have a good SOP, it has to be followed stringently. Religiously, we have to stick to it. And SOPs, these are used along with the GMP. So we have to identify what are GMPs. And along with these GMPs, SOPs need to be adopted. Now in a SOP, it is clearly defined who is going to do a particular job. So if it is washing, who is assigned to that particular job. So that will be given in detail, and why we are doing it, what is the necessity of doing it, why we are cleaning the table, why we are cleaning the food contact surfaces, why we are maintaining a temperature, why the water is chlorinated. The reason need to be given in the SOP, and what it is, how it is done, what needs to be done, that also has to be there. Then the steps involved in completing the job, how to do it, how we chlorinate the water, how we clean the surface, how we sanitize it, what should be the amount of sanitizer, what should be the amount of water, what should be the amount of chlorine, and all these things need to be taken or need to be mentioned in the SOP. And what are the critical limits? If we are saying that cooking temperature has to be 70 degrees centigrade, then we have to mention the limit that means it should not go above 70 degrees centigrade. It should not come below 70 degrees centigrade. So that critical limit of 70 degrees centigrade, that also need to be mentioned. And also we have to say what are the corrective actions, corrective measures that need to be taken. So suppose we say that it is 70 degrees centigrade, that is the critical limit. And suppose it goes above 70, it becomes 75 or 80, what is the corrective action that has to be taken to bring down the temperature to the critical limit? So corrective actions need to be taken, and it has to be monitored and verified. And every job, it has to be performed critically. So standard operation procedures, these are set of written instructions that document a routine or repetitive activity followed by the organizations. So if the company is processing or canning the sardine in tomato sauce, or canning the sardine in oil or brine, then instructions need to be written in the document, or it should be documented correctly. What are the different steps, or what are the different processes that need to be followed during the process? So this is a repetitive action. Today you will process the same food, tomorrow also. So this will be uniform for every day. So it's a repetitive action, or the routine actions which are done by the company, by the organizations. It is documented and it is written clearly with all the details. Not even a single detail is missed in this SOP. And it is an integral part of a successful quality system. So without this, it is not possible to maintain the quality. And it provides individuals with all the informations to perform job regularly, and facilitates consistency in the quality and integrity of a product or end result. Suppose a person is allowed, or his job is to chlorinate the water, regularly, and he has to see that water, it is potable, it is chlorinated, and one day he takes leave. The work should not stop there. Somebody should be able to replace him. That person should be able to do the job exactly like the previous person was doing. So there should be a written document which can be adopted by the new person to do the job. The SOP, it provides information to the person who is coming there. We do have people who are assigned particularly for one job, but if they are not there, if for some reason the person is on leave or something has happened, then somebody should be there to replace him, and he should do the work exactly like what the previous person was doing. So that is what SOP does. It sees that throughout the processing till it reaches the finished product is developed, nothing is getting interrupted, and the product quality and integrity is being maintained. So SOP, sometimes it is interchangeably used as protocols or instructions. It is also called worksheets, and sometimes it is called laboratory operating procedures. So basically it's one and same, but we can use different terms for this. And SOP, it aims in achieving efficiency, quality output, uniformity. Again, efficiency, because if one person is on leave, the work should not stop, the efficiency should not come down, productivity should be there, production should continue with. So there should be someone to replace him, and it should work exactly like how it was working on the previous day. So there should not be any compromise with the efficiency. Then quality should not be compromised. Uniformity should be there. Today you have one type of product, tomorrow you cannot have a different type of product. So there should be a uniformity in the performance and the product. There should not be any miscommunication. One person says that 2 ppm chlorine, and by the time it reaches to the another person, it becomes 2.5 or 3. That should not happen. There should be like exactly what is the precise amount. 2 ppm means it should be 2 ppm. So that correct things should be mentioned, and SOP, it prevents miscommunication and failures in the industry regulations. So everything it complies with and compliance is very important, and it complies with the regulations of the industries. And SOPs, it describe both the technical and the fundamental programmatic operational elements. So it includes analytical processes. It also includes maintaining processes, calibration, and how to use the equipments. And SOPs, they are specific to organization or facility, and this is to maintain the quality, to ensure that quality control and quality assurance are maintained, and compliance with the governmental regulations is also ensured. And this is very critical. If SOPs are not written correctly, then it is of no value. And again, if it is written properly, it is best SOP, and not followed properly, again it is of no value. So if SOPs are written, it has to be written in a perfectly, and it has to be adopted perfectly. There should not be any compromises with the SOPs. Now, benefits of SOP, it minimizes variation, product variations are reduced, and it promotes quality through consistent implementation of a process and procedure within the organizations. Even if there are temporary or permanent personal changes, if people are on rotation, it should not compromise with the quality of the product. It should not change the product. So there should not be any change. That is the first and most important point of SOP, benefit of SOP. Then also it indicates compliance with governmental requirements and organizational requirements. It is also used as a part of personal training program, and it minimizes miscommunication. It addresses all the safety concerns, and also it is used as a checklist by the auditing inspectors. So whenever there's an auditing, they will use SOPs as a checklist. And also it reduces the work effort. If there is something written, it is documented, you just have to look into it and do the work. So you don't have to discuss with many people, find out what is exactly, and then again design in your way. It is already documented, so you just have to look into it and perform the work. It also improves comparability, credibility, and legal defensibility. And again, using a correct, well-written SOP will minimize differences. So these are the benefits of SOP. Then SOP, it should be concise, it should be step by step. Everything has to be mentioned, everything has to be written, and it should be in an easy to read format. It should not be very complicated jargon words should not be used. We have to write in simple words that everybody can understand. And then it should be a team effort. There should be people who are experts in their own subjects. They should also contribute to it. And whenever there's a revision is required, it has to be reviewed and revised whenever it is required, and then it has to be reapproved. And it should form a part of checklist. Of course, it was mentioned earlier. And when we design an SOP, every document, it will have following elements. It will have a title page. It will have a table of contents. What are the contents included in the SOP? So those things need to be there. Then procedures. What are the procedures to be done? Then quality assurance, quality control, and then references. These are the 5 different elements that has to be there in an SOP. And every page, there should be a mark in the right corner which mentions the short title or the ID, then revised and date and page number. So this comes in all the pages. And it should address all the steps, that is from receiving, sorting, loading, that is pre-processing steps, and processing steps like cooking, exhausting, filling, and also the packaging steps. So everything need to be mentioned in SOP. And this is an example for SOP. Cannot be adopted for all the industries. It is plant specific, so it has to be developed for each plant. And this is just an example. And here you can see on the right side of each page you have SOP, and then page number, then revision date. So all these details come, and then we have contents where you mention all the contents of the SOP. So everything, there should be a scope, methodology, then sample preservation, containers, handling, storage. So likewise you have to put everything, and in the end there should be references and appendixes. It should contain flowcharts, figures that are supportive for this data. So all details should come here. And this is again, you can see here the references at the bottom. These are also important, and it should also be included in the SOPs. Then any supportive figures or tables that are required, that should also be included in the SOPs. Now we have Sanitation Standard Operating Procedures, SSOP. We had seen that SOPs and GMPs, these come under the jurisdiction of Food and Drug Administration, whereas SSOPs, these are regulated by United States Department of Agriculture, that is USDA. And SSOPs, they are also plant specific. And in SSOP, we have both GMPs and SOPs are put together. So SSOPs, they also address the cleanliness and maintenance of sanitary conditions for this that are vital for the wholesome and safe food for consumers. So again, they will address the SSOPs, they will address the buildings. So how the building should be, it should be intact, there should not be any crevices. What should be the height of wall, what should be the height of tile in the processing hall. The tile height should be above 6 feet, so cleaning should be possible. Fixtures, lighting should be well protected. What should be the power of lighting, that is also very important. Then type of equipment, no dents, it should have smooth surfaces, it should be non-corrosive or corrosion resistant. Then utensils, food contact surfaces, cleanliness and sanitizing agents, prevention of adulteration. So whatever we had discussed in the previous sessions, that is under GMPs and SOPs, everything has been compiled together in SSOPs. Give emphasis to food contact surfaces and see that it doesn't cause any proliferation of microbes, and also do not help in the formation of biofilm. Then there should be separate areas to store chemicals, dry chemicals and wet chemicals. They should be stored separately. They should not come in contact with the food surfaces or food contact surfaces. And again, they come in contact with the water. They should not get wet. So there should be some pallets or some raised platforms to keep the dry chemicals. So there should be separate sections for this. And again, an effective sanitation system would entail a variety of cleaning procedures that will take account for the type of food, soils, and proper cleaning and sanitizing chemicals. Generally, we go with soap solution, hot water treatment or chlorinated water treatment. But based on the industry, in milk industry or dairy industry, we need different type of cleaning procedure or cleaning technique we have to use. So depending upon the food, depending upon the impurities that can come, we have to adopt or change the cleaning procedure. So that also has to be. Then there should be a proper pest control. There should be a proper water supply. Drainage should be proper. Adequate plumbing system should be there. The pipe should be colored to indicate hot water system, cold water system, or the potable water system, or the drainage system. There should be separate pipes, and colored pipes should be given. There should be proper sewage disposable. There should be enough toilets for the workers. It shouldn't happen that there's only one toilet for all and the entire human resource that are there in the plant. There should be enough toilets for men and women. And again, there should be separate areas for keeping food. There should be good repair places in the premises. And if anything is required, any maintenance or any change has to be required, it has to be done immediately. Then hand washing stations should be there. And most of these hand washing stations, they are foot operator, or you don't touch it with your bare hands. So then we should have places to dump waste or other things, and there should be proper ways how to dispose this. Then air quality should be good. Then we should have insect proof nets, and other things can also be used for maintaining the hygiene. So such things need to be adopted. Now coming to the next method, that is HACCP and ISO 9000. We regularly follow the HACCP. HACCP is HACCP is a preventive system, and it stands for Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point. And it's a systematic approach which ensures production and processing of safe foods. So generally whatever we have seen, that is GMP, SSOPs and SOPs, these are adopted to ensure that the end product, that is the finished product, is safe. And if anything goes wrong, we take the corrective actions. And in case of sickness, we say that prevention is much better than curing the disease. Here also we do the same thing. We adopt HACCP, HACCP to prevent the contamination, prevent the risk, to ensure the food safety. So it is a preventive measure, it is not a curative measure. And we focus on safety rather than focusing on quality. So ISO 9000, it is an international standard organization 9000 series system. It is not directly related to safety, but it does provide a set of standards for maintaining the quality during production and manufacturing of food products that will ensure that partners are in agreement, and also quality of the products will be ensured both in national and international markets. Now in this HACCP, there are few terms like acceptable level, control point, critical limits. Then we also have deviations, HACCP plan, hazard. So these are few terms. We'll just go through it one by one. Acceptable level, this refers to the presence of hazard which does not pose the likelihood of causing any health risk. So what is the acceptable level? There will be levels for each component. Suppose there's a hazard, if there's a chemical, maybe an antibiotic, it might be there in the food product, it might be there in the shrimp. But what is the acceptable level below which it will not cause, or at that level it will not pose as a threat to human beings? So what that level we have to be very sure of. We have to know those things. Then what is the critical point in the food system or the process, loss of which may lead to health risk, which may lead to unacceptable health risk. At cooking, we control the temperature and the time, and we ensure that microbes will not thrive. So at this point, if this temperature is not maintained, if the time is not proper, the contamination may happen, the microbes may not come down, they may not be killed, and it may pose as a threat to human beings. So that point we have to identify. And if we have identified the point, what should be the critical limit? At this point, if it is cooking, then it will be temperature and time. So what should be the critical limits we have to maintain? That will be the maximum minimum value where the biological or chemical or physical parameter can be controlled. So these things are also important. And again, we have deviation. If anything is not in accordance with the critical limit, any deviation has happened, any failure has happened, what should be the control measure that has to be adopted? And HACCP plan is a document that presents the formal procedures for following the HACCP principles. So there are 7 principles for HACCP, and there are some steps that need to be followed when we follow the HACCP principle. We also need to know what is an hazard. Then hazard can be a chemical, biological or physical property that may cause risk or threat to human life. Then monitoring, it refers to the planned sequence of observations. That is, we have set the critical limits. We have to monitor it regularly. We have to check it regularly. We have to observe it that it is not deviating from that critical limit. There should be a recording system also in this. And then preventive measure. It's an action to exclude or destroy, eliminate or reduce an hazard. So what are the preventive measures? For example, the earring or the jewelry which a person is wearing, it may become a physical hazard if it falls into the food product or if it is packed with the food product. So what is the preventive measure? We remove the jewelry, we keep it in a safe place and does not fall on into the product. So that such kind of preventive measures can be taken. People might be smoking, they should not be allowed to smoke in the industry because sometimes that cigarette may fall into the food, or the matchstick may fall into the food product and it may be packed and it may go to the consumer. So preventive action will be to avoid such things inside the premises. Then risk. Risk is an estimate of likelihood and severity of a hazard occurrence. So if a hazard happens, what is the risk, what severity, at what level it may be severe to the human being. So we also need to know those things. And then sensitive ingredient, any ingredient that may be a biological hazard, that may be a sensitive, that may cause hazard to the human being or risk to the human being. So, and verification. Verification, these are the means or procedures or tests used to determine if the HACCP system is in compliance with the HACCP plan. So whatever we are adopting, whatever systems we have adopted, we have to verify and see that it is in compliance with the plan. So we'll wind up for today. In today's session, we had discussed about SSOP and the SSOPs, why it is important, and how GMPs and SOPs, they have been clubbed together, and according to the US regulation, how SSOPs has been defined. And we also started with the HACCP. We had seen different terms that are important in HACCP plan. And in the next class, we'll be discussing upon the different principles and different steps involved in HACCP. Thank you.